He dropped out of school at the start of year 11, not because he lacked drive, but because he knew life had much more to offer than textbooks. That's how Panorama Club was born. Lidio Fiore, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
What's a bit of bullshit that you think business owners buy into?
The ones that are like trying to teach it and stuff and join this and pay this, it's bullshit.
And your biggest lesson from being in business?
And always learn, always adapt. So if someone tells you this is how it's done, well, that's might be done today, but maybe tomorrow that's not how it's done. So just try and be a bit more like water. Go with what's kind of working and obviously go with what your target market is. That makes sense?
Hello and welcome to the Real Biz Life Chronicles, where we discuss all things business, branding and life from the Horizon Digital podcast recording studio here in Perth. I'm your host, Tracy Fryer, the founder of Design Studio Perth, and as we're dedicated to helping business owners grow with distinction through captivating branding and design, we're offering all our listeners a free brand discovery. So if you're over and frustrated with inconsistent brand messaging and presentation, use the link in the show notes below to book in a time to have a chat. Now, the Real Biz Life Chronicles is on a mission to become one of Australia's leading business podcasts, but in order to do that, we please need your help. If you do enjoy today's episode, we please ask that you like and subscribe to our channels below, or simply share this with a fellow business owner who perhaps needs some motivation. He dropped out of school at the start of year 11, not because he lacked drive, but because he knew life had much more to offer than textbooks. Instead, he threw himself into the family business where real learning happened on the shop floor. Mentored by his dad, sister, and seasoned sales pros, he didn't just learn to sell, he learned to lead. He helped transform the store into a 15 million digital camera empire. But then the landscape shifted, smartphones, price wars, and finally, COVID. Sales plummeted to zero almost overnight. Most people would panic, but not him. With a young family and serious responsibilities, he's used lockdown to ask better questions. What do I really want? What kind of business supports the life I want to live? That's how Panorama Club was born, a members-only space created for business owners to connect, recharge, and grow. A space shaped by listening and a business built on values, and is one of my favorite places, I'll just mention. People close to him describe him as loyal, quietly ambitious, and deeply humble. He's the guy who notices the little things, who gives more than he takes, who'll back his mates no matter what. And despite what he's achieved, he'll never tell you himself because he doesn't do it for the praise. This episode isn't just about surviving retail or starting again. It's about listening to your gut, creating space for others, and building something better than the world says you can't. Lidio Fiore, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I've been looking forward to our chat. As I mentioned, I'm a big fan of the Panorama Club, and I think it's a wonderful space that you've created for, business owners, and you're one of those humans who just goes above and beyond with everything that you do, Lidio, and not many people are like that.
Thank you, appreciate it. I've got to correct you though, when you said about most people, I didn't panic when most people would panic. I definitely panicked.
You did?
Yeah, It was not like it wasn't smooth sailing.
That must have been in your bio.
Yeah, it wasn't. Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I did panic. It was, but yeah. Anyway,
perhaps you carried it really well.
Yeah.
Lidio, you left school and went straight into the fire. Family business, tough customers, real world sales. What did that environment teach you that no classroom ever could?
I think when I was going through school, I didn't really have a lot of mates. I wasn't really confident. I wasn't really good with talking with people, that type of thing. So when I started working in retail, it was not an option. I had to deal with people, had to make sure you keep eye contact. That's something that our kids are losing today, to be honest. But and so it was all that, dealing with different types of people, different type of customers. So when I started working in retail, it was just that was a massive learning is, obviously listening to the customers, talking to customers, and evolving in that regard. And being in retail for me, obviously I was geared up to sell. Like that's what you do, right? You got to sell, you got targets, and it was all about that. So me and the, other sales guys would compete. It was all about sales. So when obviously with Panorama, it's completely flipped, but that's another story. So yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about you. When my first job was at Pick and Pay, which is like a Coles, and I find that just gave me all that sort of, customer experience and of course just always having jobs along the way and enjoying the airline. And I think it just gives you that hands-on human experience.
Yeah,
that
it's game changer.
No textbook could actually give that to you at all.
Absolutely. Well, just, the mannerisms, talking to people. And also the big thing for, especially in retail, is listen to people as well. Obviously they ask for this, they ask for that. And it's really important that you listen. If you don't listen, it's not what you want to stock, it's what the customer wants. So if they want, and I think that's something that we've brought in Panorama now as well. We keep adding things according to what the members want. Yeah. And that's really come from retail, because it was, if you don't stock what members want, what customers want, then you don't sell anything. So it's really crucial that you listen to people. If someone inquires about something, you make sure you stock it. And I guess that translates across to Panorama, where they're like, oh, we should do this. And then we just do that. So we have to constantly, that's why I always say it's not my club, and it's the members club, because it's always driven by their direction and their what they want.
Yeah. I think it takes a great leader though to really listen to that and create that club for the members though.
You're talking me up way too much.
Oh my gosh, you're so humble.
I'm not a great leader.
I'm going to keep talking you up.
I've got some great guys around me, that's it. I've got great members.
Wonderful. So you've been in a room where everything changed. When smartphones wiped out camera sales, when COVID hit, when retail collapsed. What's the feeling when the thing you're building starts slipping through your fingers?
Retail's always been tough. It's got massive highs and it's got massive lows. So it's quite at one stage, obviously we went from, film, and, you're doing, 100, 150 rolls of film a day. We started as a film lab, and then digital came out. It's like, shit, what the hell's digital? Like it was a big change, right? But then it was like, okay, well then you got to embrace it. So you start stocking digital cameras, and the first ones are like $3,000 or something, and they were like 1 megapixel, and, it was stuff like that. And then we have to print, right? So then the first prints were really shit, like they were just bad quality. So it was just going from, that's great. So that boom went for a while, and then obviously digital cameras came as a massive boom, and then after a while that just sort of drops out, because it's just different phases, and then obviously mobile phones come out and there's less time people want cameras, and really it's only for broadcasting type stuff that you got set up here and specific professionals. So it's always been an issue. And when COVID obviously hit, that was probably the most extreme circumstance of those scenarios, where the business went from that to like literally no customers, like nothing.
How scary.
Oh, it's one of the hardest moment of my life, really, because it was like you got all this staff, and at the time we had like 18 staff or something, and it was like, and they were like ringing me, and I was like, man, I've got no answers. Like, what do we do? I got no answers. Like, and you're watching Scott Morrison and all the new updates, and it was just like no one knew what the hell was going on. No. It was like a war without a war, right? And I think that was the moment where it was like, you're sitting at home, bloody, I think I was having a beer in the morning and, doing all sorts of shit, right? Yeah, it was just like, it's the end of the world, right?
Time. Yeah, I was just like the zombie apocalypse coming through.
I was like, oh, yeah, whatever. Me and my mate were like, oh, what do we do? And he was like, we went and bought bloody PlayStations with VR headsets. we thrashed it for a couple of weeks. I haven't touched it since.
Yeah. It was a crazy time though, right?
It was a crazy time. It was just, but it was like, shit, like, I got a wife and 3 kids, and I can't live like this, just being at, and we're lucky because the location we are in Lidio, it's a great spot. The rooftop is it's a great little good views, and it's nice, it's quiet. So the idea sort of loosely was made about where, I remember the time I was talking to one of my competitors, who's actually a good friend of mine, Sol from Camera Electronic. There's a little plug for him as well. And when COVID first hit, because we had no one knew what the hell was going on. So he was calling me, I was calling him. We're giving advice on what we're doing with staff and this and that, which I thought was very interesting, because that usually with competitors you don't do that. But it was like fuck it, man. We're it's end of the world anyway. We might as well just help each other, because that's all we had, right? And we're pretty close, because every time there's a camera trip with one of the suppliers, we've been everywhere. We've been in Monaco, we've been in Africa, we've been, you name it, right? We've been everywhere together. Anyway, so that was one part of it was him. I was talking to him about it, and he was like, he goes, I haven't really got a lot of people to talk to about this type of stuff, like business stuff. And I was like, oh shit, I've got all my friends are in business pretty much, right? They're all in business. I don't know why. Maybe I gravitate towards those people. I don't know, but so I thought that was interesting. That was in my head, and then And then I wondered and then I was speaking to a couple of, good founding members and good friends. And I said, I wonder if we did like a business club, right? I think we've kind of gone off it is a lot of business stuff there, but it is quite a social club now. But originally it was like business. Let's do a business club, right? Because I like business. I like the idea of business, and I thought, I wonder if we do that. And when I chatted to them, they were like, oh, well, we'd join for sure. I was like, okay, great. A lot of other people around me weren't that keen, but these guys, and really at the end of the day, they were my target market. So I'm not trying to sell it to like an 80-year-old. I'm not trying to sell it to someone that's got no interest. There's quite a target market. It's people that want to meet other people. Yes. It's people that want to be around, exposed to that type of environment. So knowing that, it was like, okay, we'll give it a crack. So and then obviously that's how it was sort of born, and and then it was just bloody hard initially because obviously we opened up the club, looked amazing, had all this debt. And then had a few people join. I think they just felt sorry for me. They were just joining up. Initially it was like 20 people or something. It was like no one. And it was just shit, right? It was just, not shit. It was just like, there was nothing. It was nothing. There was no events. It was, fuck. And I felt bad for these people. And they kept joining because I think they like the idea of it. Obviously with the technology, they can come and go as they please. There's really no staff. It's kind of their own place, right? So I think that was a big draw card initially. Then I think at the time, even with COVID, there was the whole ID thing we had to have with obviously the club because it was like there was a few anti-vaxxers around and they were like, oh, this is great. So I don't have to check in anywhere. There's no staff, right? So there was a couple of people like that as well. But anyway, and I think I just felt so bad at the time because it was like far out. Like it was just so, it was great, but we just didn't have enough, right? So then as, like a mate rang me up, I think, shortly after, and he's like, oh, UFC's coming to Perth, this and that. We should get some seats with Panorama. I was like, oh shit, that's a good idea. So then I called, RSC Arena, who, we're now sort of partners with. We've got seats at the Crown Concert Club. And I called him up and said, I had a chat to him and I was like, it's going to cost, 30 grand or shit. I was like, fuck, that's a lot of money, right? Yeah. For a year for 2 seats. I was like, that's a lot of money, but the back of mine was like, well, hang on, that can give our members that are paying kind of value, even if we sort of just cover that cost, or even if we lose a bit, it's a nice dynamic. So we got that, and then that was great because obviously our members started using that, and then we realised that there was good opportunity with that because people are busy all the time and they haven't got that time. So we just started adding more of those external things. So now, obviously now we're connected with pretty much everywhere in Perth, even Melbourne, all that type of stuff. We went to the Grand Prix, Formula One, a few months ago with a few members. So we're going to do that every year. Yeah. And then obviously the events. And again, it was all member driven as well. So it was a member calling me saying, hey, and I was like, okay, well, let's inquire. Yeah. And that's how that went off. And then another member was like, oh, we should do weekly events. That way it brings people together. So we kick off the weekly events. And then slowly as members sort of said things, we just did it. And I think that was important that, it wasn't just like, no, this is my club and, I'm going to do it my way. It was like, no, I got no idea what the fuck I'm doing, right? So I'm just going to do whatever you want it. Like if you want it, I'm going to try it, right? And we'll just try it, obviously. I'm not going to do, like if someone says I want to buddy have a marshmallow maker in, then I'm not going to do it, right? But if you like marshmallows, eh? But if a few people but if more than one person said it, then you start going, oh, well, hang on. There's a few people that say it, like, even like we started with that, it was like, you haven't got enough events. We started doing events, the weekly events. Oh, I haven't got enough business events. Started doing more business events. Haven't got enough women. So we were like, that was a big one, right? It was
there's a few more.
Yeah, there was like, and it was like, oh shit. Everyone thought like we were trying to get staff originally to help with the bar, and they were like, and the dads were freaking out. They're like, oh no, you're not going there. And it's like, man, what do you mean? Like why? Because they assume straight away private club. Dodgy, right? Yeah. And from day one, we've had a few members not around anymore, to be honest, but they were like, oh, we got to get strippers here. I was like, no, I'm not. If you want to do that, go to the places that do that. This is not that place. But the perception was that. So it was important that, I think the first time I knew there was a big issue, and then I met Harriet actually through RSC Arena. We had a Christmas party on the boat a couple of years ago or whatever. I met Harriet, obviously Harriet, who's big with the club on our committee now, and she posted something I think on LinkedIn saying, shout out to Lidio or Panorama Club, whatever. It's amazing that these people are now putting these events on that bring people together. It's important. People lose that human connection. I was like, oh shit, that's cool. Maybe she likes the club. So I just said, catch up for a coffee. She came for a coffee, and I just told her straight. I was like, I wasn't trying to sugar. I said, mate, we need more women. I said, I'm going to tell you straight. I said, you seem like you're a nice person. You seem like you switched on. I said, any chance? And she's like, oh yeah. So obviously she needed to understand the club first. So she started coming. Then she started meeting a few of the members. Obviously, as you know, they're all pretty decent people. There's no,
of course.
I think then she started realizing the opportunity and of the type of people that we have there. So then she obviously, she started bringing more and more and more. And obviously, we get a lot of women now, which is great. So, but again, that was all member dictated. So that's quite important to listen to people and whatever they want, we do, obviously appropriately, but yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And it sounds like both with the Camera House and Panorama, you've been, I don't know if the word pivot, I've got a bit of a thing with that word, but you've kind of pivoted as you've had to go. And do you feel that's added to the success of it?
Of Panorama, you mean?
Of both.
Of both.
It sounds like both. You've had to, with smartphones and COVID, and you guys have just.
I mean, the camera business in general, retail in general and photographic in general in Australia is quite, it's always challenging because, it's, again, it's just that cyclical, like once something's popular today, it's not popular tomorrow. Yeah. You got to buy the stock. Stock's expensive, right? So it's always those issues. And then you're dealing with 100 other websites that have the same product. You got these cameras here, like Sony Alphas, you're making, originally we used to make, 10, 15%, great. Everyone's got a website. They go, take off 2%. And then eventually you're selling these things for 3-4%, right? Yeah. You pay your credit card fees and there's nothing, right?
No.
So it's tough. It's a tough industry. And then when obviously got exposed to, Panorama and then I realized that because obviously what we're creating is a desire to, which I didn't realize this until after I started getting, I get mentored by a guy called Jamie Caring from London. His dad owns 30% of Soho House and whatever. Right. And I heard a podcast of his, and then I reached out to him. Actually, Harriet's meeting up with him in London next month. Yeah, he's taking her to a few clubs and stuff to get some intel. So anyway, so I started chatting to him, and he started giving me advice on and that's where everything changed. I think with him as well. That was about a year and a half ago. Chat to him every Thursday night, 8:00 my time. I think it's whatever time in London, and. For him, for what he explained to me, the difference with what we do as opposed to what the retail business is, where I struggled initially, I was trying to sell the memberships. I was going, you should be a member. And again, it worked great. But then there's a few members that didn't want to, or not members, so people that were just like, whatever, and they wouldn't join. I was like, what the hell's going on here? Like, why would you not want to, we're offering all this value. It did my head in, right? And I was chatting to him about it, and he goes, and he told me straight, I'll never forget, and he goes, Lidio, you don't need to sell a Rolex, do you? And I was like, oh shit. And I said, if you're trying to sell a Rolex, people think, well, what's wrong with it? Yeah. Is it stolen? Why are you trying to sell it? He goes, you got to have that. And I was like, oh, well, that's a completely different way that I grew up. Because I grew up as, like my dad's an old school Neapolitan in the market selling. Yes. Like he was selling in the markets, his whole family in the market business. So that's sales, mate. Yeah. That's what they do, right? Yeah, definitely. So it's in my, that's my nature. So I just automatically, it's in my blood. It's very hard to go, oh no, don't sell anymore. Yeah. And he goes, and then he was like, just let your members do it. He goes, that's the way, because it's different if they're recommending it. Because if you're recommending it, people are like, well, hang on, what are you gaining? Yes. And that was a whole different mindset. So I was like, done. So I stopped doing that, and that's been huge for us as well. It's just, a lot of, you just learn as you go. Anyway, yeah. And
I think something I really admire about you, Lidio, is that you've had to make some tough calls in terms of members and, offboarding certain members that don't align. Yep. And is that because you have a core set of values that you sort of stick to as your compass?
Of course. I mean, look, for me, because it was so hard to get the club to where it is today, and it was like a lot of money. I mean, I still haven't taken a wage in the last, 3 odd years or whatever, right? It literally goes back into the app, back into this. I mean, we're bloody buying a boat now, like everything's going back into the club. I've taken nothing just to build up the brand and get the business going, like even downstairs in the offices and the boardroom. Yeah, it's like, but for me, it's shit. How do I get to that? Yeah, I'm lost. How do we get to that?
That's fun. I said something I really admire about you. I do the same. I blame my European blood. Wow. So what I was saying is that I really admire that sometimes you've had to make some tough calls in terms of membership.
So the members, because it's been so hard, I don't want these guys to come in and just fuck it up,
Yeah,
right?
And that's one bad egg.
And that's what initially the problem was, they would come through and they were good with me, but then I discovered after that members thought I was friends with them, so they wouldn't say anything to me.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, shit, I'm not friends with. I mean, I'm friends with everyone, but if they're doing something wrong, you got to let me know. So that's for me. Obviously, having women there. I mean, regardless if I've got a daughter or not, I've got a 12-year-old daughter. Women don't have to come to a club and then feel that they have, like some men have got a right or a, how do I put it, like an expectation. Yeah. And I was like, man, stuff that. So I've got rid of a few of those type of people. And obviously the whole trying to sell, to people as well, like the whole networking type. We're not a networking club. We're a business. We're a social club. And first and foremost, if I like you, I'll do business with you, but it's not forced. And then we had have a few drinks by the fire and it's coming out trying to with business cards. Like, man, don't do that. Yeah. Like that's shit, right? People are coming in to relax. I don't have to be on guard. You're trying to sell me whatever, right? No. So a bit of that as well. And there's just it's got to have a bit of respect. I think that's organically happening anyway. So we don't even get the applications of those type of people anymore. Yeah. And I think with the committee as well, it's all, everything's a bit different to what it was originally. Now it gets vetted through the committee and all that type of stuff. So, yeah.
And I think even COVID aside, I think what the club creates is that sense of community, that sense of support. There's Absolutely. Literally fireside chats.
Yeah.
And just kind of brings people together. And I know, I think that's where I sort of caught up with Jace again. Yeah. From Horizon Digital just the combos you have around the fire. It's so cool. It's really, really
look, I mean, that's another thing that's kind of blown me away, talking to people that would never have known each other and then they're just dealing with each other. And it's like, and it's not just, it's like a lot. And it's like, shit, it's so hard to put that to describe. That's a good feel. To me, that's the that's the best feeling. It's not about the money. It's about the fact that, you meet Jason, which you would have never met before. And the fact that you guys are doing business together or whatever it might be, that's huge, right? Yeah. That's value there in droves. And there's a lot of that, right? If you're just present there at the club and you have a few drinks and you're generally meeting people, you're front of mind, it just happens, right?
It does.
It just happens.
Yeah.
So...
And I find the clubs kind of, so whilst I might have met, Jason Wells, or it kind of brings everyone together. And I think because you in a different frame of mind when you're there to social first and you don't have to worry about being, sold to whatever. I think people just connect naturally better in that environment. So.
I agree. And also I feel that, everyone's with that same sort of mentality as well. So they get it. Yeah. And they know if they're a member, they've been vetted, so that everyone's got that respect. And I find that even like I get messages all the time, do we have a lawyer? Do we have this? People want to use people in the club because they just know that usually if you're using someone, they'll do the right thing because they're your Panorama, because, that's what I found. Because obviously if they don't, it's going to spread pretty quickly and no one's going to use them again.
Definitely.
But also it's just nice because, I like that person. I'll do something. And the next time they'll do something for you. And that's been another massive thing. It's just blown my mind.
Yeah. It's great to see.
Yeah.
Lidio, there's a quiet humility about you, but also a boldness. Not many people would back themselves to start something like Panorama Club. Where does that internal confidence come from?
Probably being dumb.
Oh.
I reckon because I've actually read something recently. I listened to a podcast and it was like people that overthink things and they're super smart never do anything because they think of every possible scenario that could go wrong. Yeah. Whereas I'm just like, let's just go, right? If that seems like a good idea, I just run with it and I don't stop until it's done. But that's also, if I was probably a bit smarter, I'd probably go, hang on, if I do this, and I probably wouldn't do half the stuff, which has probably worked in my favor a lot of times. It's probably worked in negative a lot of times.
Sure.
Because sometimes I do shit that's, too fast. And, but I get that, again, that's probably just because I'm not, my intellect is not as smart as some people that would overthink everything, analyze everything. And then they just, there's so much, and they just don't do it because it's too many risks. Whereas I just go, well, if there's a situation there, give it a crack. I mean, obviously it's calculated risk. It's not just like, something stupid. It's like, you kind of know, you got to go with your gut, and especially with Panorama, it was tough because you weren't with a camera shop, right? It's easy to copy people, right? The website you copy. Go, this is great. I add this feature on mine. You just copy. You go to the shop. You work in their business. You copy, take photos all over. That's what you do, right? With this type of club, it's tough because there's nothing like it. Because especially being a social club and then the way that we've done it, there's nothing like it. So that's been tough as well. Like trying to work that out as well. It's been good, but it's been tough. But you just got to push through. And I think the pushing through is where that's where all these opportunities come up because if you keep pushing through, eventually other stuff just starts appearing.
It does.
That I wouldn't even have, I mean, the club's completely different than what I would have thought 3-4 years ago. And it's only because I've just pushed to this part and all these people are jumping on now and all these opportunities are happening and it's interesting.
Yeah, and I want to say I don't think it's, it's a fact of you being dumb. I think it's very courageous, and I think the beauty of what you do is that you don't hold back. You go for the, you just do it. Like, let's just go, let's just roll. Whereas someone like, I'm sort of in the in-between. Some people will overthink so much that they just, they stay in a job for 10 years that they're not happy in, or they stay in a relationship that they're not happy in. So I think in some ways it's really, it's kind of refreshing that you just say, let's go. Like, yes, there's pros and cons to both sides, but I think it's also brave at the same time.
Yeah, I guess if I didn't have that up, the club wouldn't be what it is.
Precisely.
But if I had a bit more, if I was a bit smarter about stuff, I could have saved a bit of money here and there and stuff that I've done that hasn't really worked out. But anyway, you live and learn.
Yes.
Now we've got the committee now. I've got, we've got some really good people around us. I don't do that. I mean, I still go fast, but not as fast as what I used to without thinking about stuff. Now I run it through people and make sure that, no, don't do that. Don't do this. So now it's a bit more, it's a bit better.
Yeah, I was a bit the same. And Paul said to me, he's like, Tracy, you're just kind of doing things on I won't say the word we use, but it's a perfunctory level. Like you kind of just,
what was
get
that
it done.
Word you said?
It's perfunctory, but we have a really bad nick. I won't say it on the show, but anyway, it's perfunctory. So are you just kind of doing something quick fix, like let's just get it done, and then you don't really give it the time to actually get it done properly. And I thought, so I kind of have a sticky note on my computer where I've got the wrong word, but it's just funny. So I have it there to remind me that if I'm doing something, because I think I'm the same, like I just go and do this and do that, and I just stick in mode. So it just reminds me to kind of recenter, like, I need to prioritize this for a few hours, give it the deep thought that it requires, instead of just kind of blasting this out, blasting that out, and then there's a shit show there. And
I hear.
I still blame being European.
Well, maybe potentially even being ADHD, could even be a bit of ADHD as well.
I haven't been diagnosed, but I definitely am a little bit OCD. And I don't know, but then again, I think like I just have really high standards. Like in my mind, if you're going to do something, like just do it, or do it, give it your heart and soul. And again, I do function at a very different level to what someone might be. I don't know, I'm not diagnosed, and I think so many people at the moment are kind of labeling themselves as that when they're not. And or as a perfectionist, and I just think there's nothing wrong with having high standards. Like that's,
I think there is something to it though, because I mean, I've noticed at the club there's a lot of members that have got it, and it's just interesting that a lot of business people have that as well. So I think there's something to that.
Could be.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Lydio, when you were rebuilding, did any part of you miss the chaos of retail, or was it purely relief left behind?
Well, it was more, to be honest, it was more just desperate. It was just out of desperation, not desperation. What's the word I'm trying to, it was done out of necessity. So it wasn't really leaving it behind. It was like, I think we have to do something different because retail's a tough game.
Yeah.
It's not something that's going to be, I can't see anything can happen with technology in 5 years or 10 years, and there'll be something completely different. We get wiped out. There'll be brands might come in specifically and open up a particular Canon store or whatever, and that happens all over the world. So there's always that. So for me, it was out of like necessity, really. Like with a social club, I think people always, we're social, right? Humans are social beings, really. So I guess with that aspect of it, that's something that would never really go. Yeah, maybe. I don't know, unless with all this AI shit, people start becoming friends with robots and stuff. I don't know. Maybe that will happen. I don't know.
It's kind of creepy, but
some of these videos. I don't know if you've seen some of these videos that it's so far out, man. Like full on,
very weird.
Full on, yeah.
Lydio, take us back. What year did the Camera House open? And it was your dad that started it?
Yeah. So, we've had multiple names, but 1984. Yeah. Yeah, so on Oxford Street, so 140, which was sort of in the heart of sort of Leadable there. 1984, and then it was like a mini lab, and then it sort of evolved to, as I said before, started selling digital cameras, and then that was massive and became a camera shop, and then we joined Camera Land, I think it was at the time, and then it was Photo Sprint, then Camera Land, then it was Camera House, and anyway, we had a few names, and we went to Leadable Cameras for a while. Now we're back to Camera House, so same place, same people, just different names.
And what role has family played in your business success?
Obviously, there's pros and cons with any family business, right? So obviously, you get the leg up being in a family business because you get opportunities that you probably wouldn't normally get, but also you have to do a lot more than what you would normally do for like a normal job because you're expected to, and when you're going home with your parents or, you know, whatever, and like that's all you're talking about. And
Still
it's like,
home,
like if you say it's very different, you know, especially when you, you know, with a retail business, you're always talking about these customers. That's what you talk about, right? Like, you know, talking about suppliers. And so, that's pretty much, yeah.
And Lidio, another thing I've noticed about you, you always just seem to be, you know, on the ball, so composed. What do you fear?
What do I fear? Probably just not giving value. Well, probably for me, not giving value for the club, not giving value to the members. That's what I fear.
Yeah.
Where we become stagnant and boring. That's one of my biggest fears, to be honest. I want to make sure that we're always doing shit different.
It's definitely not that.
Well, but the thing is, if you start getting comfortable, what will happen is, you know, you sort of sit back, no, I'm great, this and that, whatever, and you start taking compliments on board, and all of a sudden, there's someone out there hungrier, and they're going to take you over. So I think the most important thing is you got to take that chip off your shoulder. All that, and you don't smell the roses, right? Don't worry about the roses. Worry about that in 20 years' time or 30 years' time.
I don't have roses.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? Like people are like, oh, stop and celebrate your wins. Maybe, I don't know. But like later, like for me, it's just like keep going.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I hear that. You know, you got to celebrate your wins. Maybe, like, but I don't think I've won yet. I think there's a lot more to do. I believe a lot more systems to go in place. You know, there's a lot more to go. So I feel that. That's probably my biggest fear, and probably another biggest fear is living my life with, you know, getting to 80 years old, 90 years old or whatever, and you know, hopefully I make it that long. But
yeah, me too.
You know, the amount of drinking I've done, probably be dead at 50. Nah,
hopefully not.
No, I'm just checking. But like. Yeah, like, you know, having that regret of like that's a big fear of mine.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just going, I should have done this, I should have done that. And you hear those stories where people on their deathbed and they're like, you know, they wish they'd done this. So it's like, just live your life. Just if you want to tell someone you love them, tell them you love them. Just do everything hard. And it's funny because I went to Europe last year with a family, and with my wife's cousin, he was there as well, Jake, one of the members, and we went to the catacombs in Rome. And I don't know if you've heard of them or seen them, but anyway, like you go down there I took a bunch of photos. I'm apparently not supposed to take photos, but and it was all like, you just see all these like bones and skulls, all perfectly aligned, like thousands of them, right, in these formations. And they're like full skeletons, and I think they're monks over the years. They collected all these bones, and it's like, it's surreal, right?
Would be.
And when you look at it, you look at it and go, shit, there's like all this, you know, fibias, what do they call all the bones, all lined up. That's like people, right? There's like, and all they determined now, or what they are remembered by, is just stacked up together as. And when you see that, you're like, shit, man, that's what we are, right? We're nothing. Don't overthink yourself. You can have it. You know, we're nothing. That's where we're going to end. Well, maybe not in Rome and there, but that's how we're ending up. And these people had lives, you know, whatever. And you see that, and it's like, shit, man, all these skulls, and it's really surreal. That's a big one for me as well. Where you see that, you're like, man, like that's where we're headed, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, do as much as you can now. Like push hard. Don't leave anything on the table. Just go hard.
Yeah. And I'd love to know, what would your advice be to someone who perhaps is, you know, overthinking something? There's a business they want to start. They haven't told that person that they love them. Like, what would your advice be there?
Probably the number one thing that I'm only learning now, right, is I listen to my members, of course, because that's different. That's, you know, but if you want to build, if you want to make a car, don't ask someone that only knows how to make marshmallows. If you know, like, I think it's important that if you're asking advice of someone that's never done it before, have got no experience in it, have never done, like, it's really hard. You really need to talk. If you're going to be talking to people, they've got to be people that have in that. They can think the same or have that. Otherwise, you're going to get shot down and then you get doubted. Yeah, you're like, oh, well, no, I wouldn't do it, because they wouldn't do that. So they'll tell you not to do that, or what about this? And they would never do it because they wouldn't do it. So I think it's important to talk to the right people. And obviously that's obviously what the club gives. You know that you get those type of people, and you just gravitate towards the people that you want to chat to because you have those conversations and stuff like that. So I think that's probably the biggest thing I'd say is if you're going to deal in business or you know whatever industry you're in, only get advice for people that are in that industry or similar industries or have been in that scenario. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying be selective with whose advice you pretty much take and
Absolutely.
who you surround yourself with.
Absolutely, because it's so it's so easy to get, you respect someone and you take their advice and it's like, well, hang on, they got no idea. Like how would they know? Like it took me like years to work that out because, like you just listen, oh shit, and then you don't do stuff and like, oh shit, I should have done that. But you just got to you listen with your gut and only talk to the people that that would know what you're talking about.
And Lidio, was there a time like in the early Panorama days, was there something you did that, there was a time that almost broke you essentially where you just thought, no, stop this, I'm done, I'm going to give up?
No, I never give up. But definitely frustrating parts and definitely. And that's where I'm like, but I'm lucky that I've got good mates around me that I can go by the fire. We've sat there and I've gone, man, this situation, that situation, you just talk it out, right? And then usually you get maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that. So I'm lucky I've got that around me as well. So it's never really been never give up, but more like frustrating parts. But when we first started the club, it was more like it was more like a bit of a family.
Sure.
So as we've grown now, it's and I still kind of treat it as a family, which I think I've got to kind of do that, but also put a lot more systems in place. So that was another big learning I've had in the last probably few months where, if I'm not super clear about what we do and stuff, it could cause, an issue here and there just with some members, not ex-members or whatever. But anyway, that's probably the biggest thing for me is that as well. Yeah.
And what is something you're super proud of, Lidio, that you've done?
My kids, my wife. Yeah.
And if your kids ask what it really means to build a business, what would you want them to know? Not the Instagram version, but the real stuff.
If they want to build a business, is just expect pain, expect suffering, expect no money, expect almost feeling you're going to go bankrupt, almost gone bankrupt multiple times, expect, drawing on this, drawing on that, using this resource, doing whatever you like. It's not going to be easy. Like expect, if you really want to do it, you better love what you do because it's going to be fucking hard, right? If you don't love what you do, it's easy to give up because you're like, stuff this, right? You got to really love it. And I think I like talking to people. I like meeting new people. I like having that. So for me, I'm passionate about it. If I wasn't passionate, man, I would have given up 6 months after we started. Yeah. So I think it's important to, is definitely do what you love. Otherwise, it's tough.
And so you feel it's that passion that keeps you going
100%,
more?
100%. Like I said, you meeting this person, or I was out for lunch the other day with someone, and then another member saw another member. They would never have known each other. Now, talking, I was like, shit. To me, that's a massive. Seeing that these connections and the community that we've built over the years, I think is probably one of the biggest. I'm passionate about that. Yeah. And
sorry, I'm backtracking a little bit here, but the reason you don't celebrate wins, do you feel like it's kind of a distraction?
I feel it's a distraction. I feel that it would probably give me a chip on my shoulder. It might make me, stop and and not push as hard. So I just take that away.
Sure.
And then I just make sure we just keep going. So I don't look at the, again, I know that's probably not the right answer, and I get it. I've heard some podcasts like, oh, you celebrate your wins. Yeah, I get it. But I think maybe, I just don't want to, because then I don't want to have that risk. Because your mind's a powerful thing. You start going, this, and then all of a sudden you just act like that. And I don't want to be like that.
So do you feel it's a way of staying humble?
Hungry, alert, always on the go. Because you achieve more if you've got an empty stomach than you do with a full stomach, right? Because you don't know when, so you do more that way. I don't want to sort of relax and, then someone else that's hungry is going to take me over. So we just got to keep going, like more. That's, especially when you're starting a business like this, which is very unique. I still feel that we're in its infancy. It's been 3-4 years, but I still feel it's very, especially all the new stuff that we're doing, it's very new. So we have to make sure that we continue until it's properly set up and sorted. Like again, there's nothing like it. We've got suites. We're getting a boat, right?
Yes.
Like
I saw that.
Yeah. But again, it's a few of the members are putting into it, as in like they get their name on the boat, like a big boat. And obviously we can do sundowners once a month. It's a different element, right? But then members can book it on our app. Obviously Jason built the app, obviously for us.
Yes.
So we do a lot of different things. So it's really hard to categorize I guess we're a social club, but we're very different. So it's very hard to. It took me a while to understand what we were, and that's the hard thing. You got to keep going because we're just making up ground as we go along. We're doing new things. Going, oh shit, that works. Let's do that. Oh, that works. Let's do that, and then we keep doing that. Make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And I guess in celebrating the wins, they would inspire others in some way, would they not, or disagree?
Me inspire others?
Yeah, because what you're doing is having a business.
Celebrating the wins, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I care. Sorry, I'm not. I mean, look, I'm happy people inspire, but again, I don't feel that I'm inspirational. No, I don't want to be that person or anyway.
It's just very interesting. Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah. Look, again, I probably am wrong. I'm wrong with a lot of things.
There's no right or wrong.
Yeah. But I just feel that I don't want to have that on me because I don't want to risk losing that,
Yeah.
That's all.
So you sound very focused.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wake up 3 a.m. and 3 a.m.
I thought.
Sorry. No, I don't usually. No, I don't get up. Sometimes I can't sleep after that. But usually I wake up and all these shit in my head and it's like solving all these problems. I do this, do that. Should do this. Pretty much almost every. Oh shit! I actually put on Do Not Disturb as well as my wife.
Fine,
sorry
don't
about
worry,
that.
all good.
So she's off. So there you go. So at least she knows that she's not on Do Not Disturb. Anyway,
that's all good.
Sorry.
Don't worry. All good.
What was I saying?
I don't even know.
Sorry. That was. I was like, how the hell that happened? It's my wife. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Let's go into the next one. So you've had success. You've had setbacks. What's something success didn't give you that struggle did? So what has struggle taught you?
Again, probably what I said earlier is, because we're forging something where it's never been done before, and that was the struggle part. Because obviously, initially, like I was doing everything, running the bar, cleaning, everything. And everyone was like, oh, you've got to have staff. I was like, yeah, but I don't know what to tell them to do. Because I know retail, and we had systems in place. Everything was video. There's photos. There's systems. There's booklets. Like everything was down packed in retail because you know what to do. With this, it was like, shit, I don't know what to do. Like, I've never run hospitality. Yeah. I know how to eat and drink, but apart from that, I don't know how to. So that was the hard. That for me, that was. But being on the front line and being there, then you're talking to members. You're hearing what they want, what they like, what they don't like, and I think that's important. That's what gives you the struggle of that. Doing that yourself, you learn these new things. I think that's what I've done because I'm there. In the early days, I was there all the time, and I'm there. Obviously, the big events tonight. We've got a big event tonight.
Yes.
Friday we've got a sundowner. So I'm usually always there for the main events, and I guess just talking to people, and then the struggle of just learning. I think that's. Does that answer your question?
It does. Yeah. And I have to say, Lidio, the food is always amazing. You go to some of these events.
Takes me ages cooking it.
Oh my God. You go to some of these events and they'll have one little thing of something.
I'm Italian, mate. I can't, that does my head in,
I'm so grateful because, some of them are just, you go home, you literally you eat at 10 o'clock at night because you've had one morsel of, I don't know,
does my head in.
Or whatever it is. But no, the food is incredible. It's bang on.
Again, like I said, I'm Italian, so we always have excess food, but I'd rather people have more than less. And I hate that as well. We used to go back in the day with a camera shop, with little chats and stuff, and we'd literally we're starving, right? And we go there and there's like a bloody biscuits. Like, man, we eat biscuits. What do we do with that? So like for me, it's always been important. We're always going to make sure we got food, and always usually we're lucky being a leader. We can leverage off all the amazing hospitality owners.
So many great spots.
Yeah. And we just and they're calm, they're great. Tonight we've got Jen Lam from Banh Mi. She's doing Vietnamese street food spreads, amazing food. You're coming tonight, eh?
Yes.
Yeah. So we've got we're doing a massive spread, and we're lucky that we've got all these guys around us. So it's easy to get really good food. So.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Panorama Club used to be the top part of Camera House where the telescopes were.
Telescope viewing deck, yeah. So that was. So when we built the store, like my dad, not me, but my dad, had the builders at the time. The idea was, do two-level camera shop. We started as a duty-free shop, so we had alcohol, cigarettes, handbags, luggage, boomerangs, all that sort of stuff. Everything, right? Sunglasses, everything. And then we had like 2 levels of that. And then the rooftop, the idea was telescopes, viewing deck. But stupidly, we didn't think too much about it. But you can't, with the light, all the lights in the city, you can't see much. You need to be sort of further out with no lights. That's why obviously, you got to go like Gin or, down south or up north where there's not much. But anyway, so we built that rooftop area for that intention, but we did a couple of events over the years, not much, but the hard problem was, we only had one entrance through the shop. So whenever, people had a few drinks with it, I'd have to walk them out because they're walking past all this expensive stock and whatever. And so I think that worked in our benefit now because obviously with the club, as we've modified it over the years, we've got external lift, external entrance. It's kind of hidden at the back. No one kind of knows it's there apart from now because you're bloody putting on a podcast. But so that's been a good thing as well for us. Yeah. But that was originally a telescope viewing deck and it just kind of flopped. And because we had the space, luckily, was like, oh, we should do this and, fix it up a bit and that's, so we're lucky in that regard, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And Lidio, how do you decide what to say yes to now and what to walk away from, even if you could make money?
I don't care about making money. I mean, I care about making money, but it's not my focus. It's not my driver. So if it's anything that can benefit the club and the members, I'm all in, right? If there's anything like, we just put this new Crown Resorts offer and you saw 15% off the members.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Oh, yes. So we got that offer now, which is great. So all these different things that we're adding. So for me, it's that's what I care about, because if I can give more and more value to our members, that's the most important thing. The money will come later and I get it. And but that's not my focus. The focus is that.
And is there a piece of advice that someone gave you that you live by?
Yeah, probably years ago, I reckon. I was talking to another one of the members, a long-time member, Paul Tonich, who's a real estate guy, and we used to do the events with him back in the day on the rooftop. And I remember complaining, this was years ago, I was like, I don't know, shit, I was early 20s. So yeah, 20 years ago. Fuck.
So scary, right?
Oh my God. And I was complaining about the business, the retail, this and that. I was like, complaining this and that. And he just looks at me and he goes, Lidio, he goes, just understand. He goes, whatever you're going through, all your competitors are going through. He goes, so if you can deal with it, you're doing better than them or the same as them, and just deal with it, because it's not like it's exclusive to you, these issues. Yeah. It's across the board. I think that's good to know, because sometimes people think that it's me. It's like, and it's in general. Like this is if you're in business, these are the issues that are going to happen, right?
Yes.
So don't think it's exclusively to you, but if you can go past that and push through it straight away, and I reckon that was a big one for me.
That's a great bit of advice, because it can feel very targeted at you, but again, it kind of just shifts it that it's everyone having staffing issues, everyone's going through this.
Everyone's going the same things, and it's the people that kind of just keep one foot in front of the other, just the next step, not overthinking it either. Like just going, you know what? What's the next step? What's the next step? Not go, what do I do in 5 years? No, what are we doing now to make it better? Obviously, the goal, you look for the future as well, but you just keep going forward and deal with it as it comes. Just roll with the punches, I guess.
And Lidio, when was the last time you felt out of your depth, and what did you do next?
Out of my depth. Let me think. I mean, I used to hate public speaking, but now it's a different story. Oh, well, I never was, but now I've been forced to be.
Honestly, you and me both.
I've just learned, because I've sort of had to now. I don't know. I don't really get to even this sort of stuff. I would never have done this a few years ago.
Really?
I would just I would never do it, because it's like, it's on me, this and that. But it's like, as you get older, you're like, I'm on stuff it. Like, I'm happy to have a chat. You're a member. Like, I'm happy to talk. And I would never do this sort of stuff. So I guess this would have been out of my depth a few years ago, but now I don't really overthink it. I just do it.
Yeah.
Even big events. Like we have big events. We've got like last year we had obviously we're partnered with Wildcats. We had Luke Longley and Gary Payton at the club, right? And that was like, these guys are big names, NBA, Chicago Bulls. And like that was, but again, you don't overthink it, like you just roll with it, and then did that at the club, and it was a huge event, and so you just don't overthink things, I guess. And I don't know, it is if you think these guys are massive and it's a big deal, of course you're going to feel out of your element, but you just realize they're people, and that's what I've come to discover as well. They're people, they have families, they've got emotions. Yes. So when you go up to them, can I get a photo with you? Can you get that? They're just like, man, just another. So I don't initially, maybe 4 years ago, it was like a bit like that. But now it's like, no, we get that many coming through now, with all different type of sports players or whatever. It's you realise that, it's just they're human.
Yes.
And that's the big one. You forget that. You tend to forget that.
Even some of the guests I've had on the podcast, there was a couple I had last year, and I was freaking out a bit.
Yeah.
And Paul said to me, "Is that Tracy? Just remember, they still go to the bathroom."
Yeah,
and I was
exactly.
like, "Oh, right, yeah, actually, that's right."
That's a good analogy.
He said it in a bit of a worse way, but yes, it just kind of made me. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, just calm down. Like, just another human." So
exactly right.
Almost put them on that pedestal.
Yeah.
Lidio, I'd love to know, how has business changed you?
Has it changed me? Probably just maybe more. Again, over the years, just maybe more aware of. Picking up trends, I guess, if you can say it that way, being open to stuff, trying to continually learn. Like I'm always, I never thought I'd like when I was younger, like, whatever. Like now it's like, I want to learn every day. So I listen to podcasts and I listen to this and I'm constant, so I guess that's maybe, and I just want to, I just want to know more about things that I enjoy, especially business and systems and, clubs and as in private clubs. And I don't know, I just want to, I just want to know more and learn more. And I guess that's probably what's changed me, is I just want to, as you sort of talk to people and you evolve in the business, you just want to get better and better. I reckon I'm working way harder now than I ever worked in my whole life.
Yeah.
You know, and I was working in retail, like from 7 a.m. till bloody, you know, I was at the shop from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. like every day till I was like 40, you know, from 16 years old, 15 years old, right? So like, and I reckon I'm working harder now. Because you don't switch off, your phone's on and this and that. Remember, once this, message that, like, you know, talk to this person. You know, it's just, I've never worked so hard in my life.
And do you have like an outlet or something that you do to try and help?
Drinking.
Fair enough.
I probably should relax on that, but yeah. No, unfortunately, yeah. And I mean, my outlet's the club. I love the club.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just like when I go for an event, yes, it is work because I know when it's not work, it's like it is work because you got to be there, you got to be present. Yeah. It's important to meet new members, especially when new members join. You want to introduce them to the right people. So I usually do that. Now we've got Jess, the relationships manager, which is she's great. She's going to sort of alleviate that for me a bit as well. But I think I want to just be there and do that. But yeah, that's important for me.
And I feel called to ask, what's a bit of bullshit that you think business owners buy into?
Probably that it's. You know, I don't know. Anyone that's trying to teach on Facebook or YouTube, usually like, well, not what you do, sorry. That's okay. But the ones that are like trying to teach it and stuff, and join this and pay this. That's, you know, it's bullshit. If you really want good advice, and I say this wholeheartedly, I think you look at the industry that you want and you look at the leader there, even if it's a millionaire or a billionaire. I think you'd be surprised if you genuinely go there and say, "Can you please help me? I want to learn." Very unlikely because they were where you were. Yeah. And I think people do want to generally give back. So I think it's important to, you know, focus, don't overthink things, focus on that, just, you know, and not look at people that don't know what they're doing. Like, you know, like if they don't know what they're doing and they're trying to teach it, just forget that. Yeah. Because there's a lot of that.
Yeah. There's so much of
business coaches that charge whatever, and then you get, what do you need that for?
And
I guess there's a place for a business coach. Don't misunderstand. But
what was that, sorry?
There's a place for a business coach. Of course. But like the ones that are, you know, they're just teaching you like a broad spectrum and it's not really targeted and it's like, yeah, I don't know. No,
and like I said, they've never had a business before. So they, you know, their advice, where did they get that from? Yeah. Lidio, what's one part of the entrepreneurial story you wish more people were honest about?
It's probably just a struggle, really. Just a struggle. I think people are honest about it. If you talk to most people that are running a business, they don't just say it's all roses, you know. Yeah. I think Elon Musk says famously one of his things is they asked him like what it's like to found a business, and I think he says something like it's like chewing glass, looking into the horizon, like, you know, because you basically, because you don't work on the good shit because it's going well. You deal with the bad shit all the time. So you're fixing systems, you're fixing this. So you're always just eating glass. You're always fixing the problems and then also looking in the horizon. You don't know what the fuck's going to come or how. So I love that analogy. So you're pretty much eating glass and then you don't know what the hell's going to come around the corner, like COVID example and all these other scenarios. Like you just got to keep. That's what I kind of, I love that, you know, because that's so true. Because with the business going really well, you don't focus on the stuff that's going well. You focus on the shit that's not going well.
Yeah, or how can you know,
how to improve it or whatever. And so you're always just dealing with shit, complaints or this and that, or like, you know, we don't get many complaints, but like, you know what I mean? That's and I relate to that a lot.
And you mentioned earlier about the catacombs that you saw. What sort of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Definitely not have my bones stacked up like that in a dark room. I think probably just building again with Panorama, building something that's bigger than me, I guess. You know, with the relationships between members, and that I think that's the big thing. If I can die and I know that the club will live on, I reckon that's huge. Yeah. Yeah.
And your biggest lesson from being in business?
Biggest lesson from being in business, just always learn, always adapt. You have to adapt all the time. Like, you know, whatever works today is not going to work tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you guys have done that really well.
Well, again, I've done it because I've been forced to. And I think that's my retail background, having that, you know, always asking customers what they want and stuff. And I reckon I've always done that anyway. So for me, it's kind of natural to try and absorb as much from members to make sure that we implement those strategies. For me, so yeah, I think it's adapt. So if someone tells you this is how it's done, well, that's might be done today, but maybe tomorrow that's not how it's done. So just try and don't, you know, be a bit more like water, like fluid. Just go with go with what's kind of working and obviously go with what your target market is. That makes sense?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And if you could go back and give, when you first dropped out of grade 11, if you could give yourself one bit of advice, what would it be?
Don't party as much probably. I probably spent a lot of money on going out too hard.
Same.
I'd get home at 6 a.m. I'd still go to work, buckward as, right? But probably if I didn't do that, if I probably did 20-30% of that less, I'd be a lot more successful. Well, I'm not that I'm successful, but I'd be a bit better off in life. But I guess that's also a learning and it's character building, and I've huge relationships with my good mates, and so I guess that's a part of my life that I can't obviously erase. But and I don't want to erase it. But what I'm saying is, I think probably if I less of that. And more focus on business, but that's as you get older. I'm getting older. Yeah, I would never say that shit 20 years ago.
Both, same. You and me both. Like I think, and again, like you don't know any better, right? So 16, you start partying, you start going out. And next thing you're still doing it at 35.
Yeah.
And, that's just how it kind of goes. But I agree. But I haven't done as much of that. But I guess the universe's timing is always perfect. But I hear you on that one.
Yeah, that's the big one. Probably.
Yeah. And Lidio, any final words of advice before we jump off?
No, not really. I think we covered most things there. I've said what I had to say about the club and what I do in the struggle, and that's pretty much it. But no, I think we're good.
And I do have one last question. You mentioned something about success. What do you equate success to? Like, what does that look like for you?
Probably having a good family, a good household, and having enough, I guess, finances to be able to do things with the family. It doesn't have to be a huge amount of money, but if you want to go on a holiday, you can go on a holiday. If you want to be able to, if you need to get something, you don't have to struggle with that. That's probably to me. And it doesn't matter if you've got, it's $1 billion there or whatever. As long as the family life is sorted out, that's probably success to me.
Yeah. And where is the best place for our listeners to go should they wish to connect with you?
Just my LinkedIn profile, I guess. Lidio Fiore, LinkedIn.
And I know the club is by application.
Yep.
Of course. And where can they submit that?
Yeah, they can submit to the website. Obviously, we've put some systems in place now, so they usually have to know a member there, because obviously we want to try and make sure that we keep it respectable and we get the right people through. So they just got to really know someone there and they got to put that down. If they don't, they can apply anyway. We can look at it, but usually that's what would have to happen. But yeah, on the website, essentially, you can do that on the website. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Well, Lidio, thank you so much for everything that you've shared. I really enjoy the club and just the connections it's enabled me to make. It's been awesome, and I think you downplay yourself so much, and I think it's brilliant to see what you're doing. So you should be super proud of yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Alrighty, take care.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Ciao, ciao.